This is Eyewitness News Up Close with Diana Williams.
As to Mr. Toussaint, the court imposes a fine in the amount of $1,000 and also imposes 10 days in jail.
That was the judge's order. Roger Toussaint, the president of the Transport Workers Union, now heads to jail on Monday for allowing an illegal strike. Good morning and welcome to Eyewitness News Up Close. I'm Diana Williams. This has been a rough week for the union representing 34,000 subway and bus workers. The union overwhelmingly passed the same contract that was rejected back in January, 71% this time approving it. But that's little consolation to a mountain of problems that the union is now facing. A state Supreme Court judge fined the union $2.5 million for the illegal strike that shut down the city's mass transit system for 3 days just before Christmas. But in an even bigger blow, the judge also took away the union's ability to automatically deduct union dues from workers' paychecks. Earlier this month, the same judge also sentenced Roger Toussaint, the union president, to jail for 10 days for violating the state's Taylor law. Toussaint begins serving that jail time on Monday, and he is here with us this morning. Roger Toussaint, good to have you here with us this morning.
Good morning.
You're getting ready to head off to jail.
Yep.
What are you expecting? 10 days in jail.
I think the first thing is the contract. It was voted up overwhelmingly, and it's time for the MTA to now act on the contract.
I know you want to get to that, and we're going to talk about that. We got a few minutes here, but you're going to jail.
Yeah.
What are you expecting? You're going to be in an 8x10 cell. Do you know what to expect?
Well, that's not the drama of this situation. The drama is that a message is being sent to the labor movement, and that's what this whole situation is being used for, to send a message to the labor movement, to intimidate people from fighting back against what's going on with pensions, health benefits, and so on. And that's the real drama underlying this. It's not about Roger Toussaint or about 10 days in jail or just some kind of individual issue. This is a message is being sent to the labor movement.
And what is the message? The
message is don't fight back over the attacks on pensions, health benefits, union rights, and so on. Even when I was coming in here, they were right outside the doors. There are issues regarding union rights in this shop.
But is one man going to jail enough to send a message?
Well, they are certainly using the whole situation for that. That's why the fines and the dues check-off issues, they will have been excessive in order to send a message, because otherwise it makes no sense being hit with jail, fines, and dues check-off unless the intention is to subject the union to the equivalent of a public flogging in order to intimidate everyone from standing up and fighting back in this town.
But you could have fought back in a different way. You could have fought the jail time. You could have appealed it. Why didn't you do that?
No, actually, we fought back using the legal means up until the point that we went on strike, for instance.
But I'm talking about the jail time specifically.
How?
You did not appeal going to jail.
Right.
Why not?
Because there was no issue that we were aware that there was a contempt order in place at the point at which we called the strike. So there was no... We were not disputing that. That is a point of fact, so it didn't make any sense for us to challenge the jail time on that issue.
So does that mean you think you should go to jail?
No, of course not. Okay. I think that the jail there's no point served by the judge imposing a jail sentence. There was no point other than sending a message by both doing the heavy fines, $2.5 million, as well as doing the dues forfeiture. Messages are being sent. As it turns out, the MTA board will be meeting on Wednesday. So we thought that we do our end, we are taking the consequences, and we want to see, it remains to be seen what the MTA board does on Wednesday. If the courts are saying I pay the consequences, well, I'll be in there Wednesday paying the consequences. Now, does the MTA then have any burden or responsibility to act on this contract on Wednesday? That remains to be seen.
So there is an interesting timing here, though,
yes.
The fact that you are in jail at this point in time when the MTA is having a big meeting on Wednesday.
Right.
Did you coordinate that? Did you?
No, well, they have their scheduled monthly meetings, I believe the fourth Wednesday or so of the month, so that was already pre-scheduled. The judge's order said that I have to serve the sentence within 30 days.
So did you pick this particular 10 days because it coincided with their meeting?
Yes.
You did?
Yes.
So that's to send a message?
Yes. No, actually, the purpose of this is to then put the burden of the onus on the MTA to now do their part, or to walk away from the deal that they made in December and that they ratified for the other ATU locals, Staten Island and Queens. They have claimed that they've been bargaining in good faith. Well, New Yorkers will see what they mean by that come Wednesday in terms of whether they act on this ratified contract.
You go into jail on Monday. You have asked union members to be there when you go into jail. What kind of expectations do you have? Do you expect a lot of union members to be outside as you go into that jail?
But what's going on is that the New York State AFL-CIO, as well as the Central Labor Council, they are sponsoring a rally to coincide with me turning myself in. So that will occur from 4 p.m. At Brooklyn Borough Hall, and then we'll be marching over the bridge to the Manhattan House of Detention, where I'll surrender myself. So the point is that they are sending a message that with this, the equivalent of a public flogging, and to some parts of the media are trying to celebrate this as if the labor movement is beaten. So it's appropriate for the labor movement to send back a message. So we'll be there, and standing next to us will be the cops, the firefighters, the municipal unions.
How many people do you think will be there on Monday?
Well, there should be in the thousands.
Thousands?
Yeah.
Are you trying to be a martyr in all this?
Well, I didn't choose to give myself a jail sentence. Judge Jones did, and we didn't choose these onerous fines and dues forfeiture. He could have given a more measured fine. This was quite excessive. Again, they are sending a message. It wasn't my intention when we stepped up to be a martyr. We did what we felt we had to do in terms of defending our union and our members' self-respect. We weren't going to allow them to use our negotiations to impose a new pension on all municipal employees in New York City. It wasn't going to happen on our watch.
But it does make you a martyr in this, right?
Yeah, but that's not relevant to my actions. My actions is you're not going to set up a new pension for hundreds of thousands of municipal employees while I am the president of the Transport Workers Union.
What do you think you're going to be doing inside that jail cell for 10 days? Do you have any plans? Will you have contact with people outside, or will you be on your own in there?
Well, I'm not sure. I haven't done a jail time before, but I'll have some reading material if I'm able to do reading, and I'll be having meetings, of course, with my attorneys. I don't know exactly what the rules are with respect to providing interviews for media while I'm in there. I don't know what those rules are, but I know that I'll be visited by attorneys and clergy and and community leaders.
Are you worried?
As well as there'll be a vigil outside every day.
A vigil outside every day?
Yes.
And are you hoping for big crowds for that too?
But the vigils are more are not large crowds. Vigils are a small events, and more likely than not, on the last day we'll have another rally.
If you don't get big crowds, though, what does that say? It's hard for transit workers to get off the job. I mean, they're busy. They're doing their jobs. They're riding buses. They're driving buses or subways. I mean, it's hard. Are you asking them to leave their positions?
No, the intention is after work.
After work.
So it's been held from 4 to 6:30. So people should start arriving closer to 4:30 after they've left their regular shift.
But you're counting on them being there.
People will be there, because both transit workers and the public see this for what it is.
Do you think you have a lot of sympathy right now in the public?
I think most people understand what's going on. I think that most ordinary people understand that we had to do what we had to do. All municipal employees have gone for 2 and 3 years without contracts.
But you've said in the past, and on this show you have said it, that you feel like you really didn't do enough to sell the contract initially to union members when it just passed by that, or didn't pass by those 7 votes. You felt like you didn't do enough.
Well, I think clearly there was evidence that we needed to have done a better job communicating the provisions of the contract.
Given this huge fine, given the fines against you and other executives, there's a lot that has gone wrong for the TWU. Have you at any point considered stepping down or resigning?
If you really asking if we regret standing up in December as we did, and saying no to new pensions, and saying no to all the changes the MTA was threatening to impose on us through this round of negotiations, or even saying no to waiting 2 or 3 years for a contract like all the other unions. If your question is, do we regret that? Not for a moment.
More for you.
What?
Do you or have you at any point considered resigning?
No. Why? The support for us taking strike action was overwhelming among transit workers. We had done a poll before the strike, and 66% of transit workers were in favor of a strike. During the course of the strike, we did another poll, and the number climbed to 73%. So the sentiment among transit workers was because of the torrent of abuse inside of the MTA. People wanted to see a fight occur, wanted to see us stand up to the MTA and say no to the MTA.
But
and
as you look at this, has anything good come out of it?
Absolutely. I think that we are potentially stronger. There's a lot of suppression taking place, and these fines, they hope that this will break our union. My prediction is that at the end of the day, this type of suppression will breed wider resistance, both within our union and inside the overall labor movement. And that's what history shows. They're trying to give us a public flog in order to intimidate people. Most working people in New York look at it and see it for what it is, and they're saying the nerve of these people to try to get away with this.
You're up for re-election this year. You going to run again?
Yes.
You think you'll win?
Yes.
And you head to jail Monday morning. When you come out, what do you think will have changed?
Will have changed?
Yeah. Anything in you personally? Anything that you hope will have changed for the union?
The personal issue is not a significant thing. I hope that by that time the contract would have been ratified by the MTA board. That's what I hope.
Is that your wish? That they just take this contract and say we're going to accept it?
That's the contract that they negotiated and signed off on in December. That's the contract that was ratified for the Staten Island and Queens locals. That's the contract that a few weeks ago, even Peter Calico was saying that he hoped that this was passed by the membership.
But as you know, it now goes to binding arbitration.
Not necessarily.
Well, are you prepared to go back to court and try and fight this?
Well, not necessarily. Even when PERB issued its decision to remand the contract to binding arbitration, in that written decision it said that nothing in this decision prevents the union from conducting a revote on the same contract, nor does it relieve the MTA of its legal obligations in the event of the contract is ratified. So PERB clearly left open the possibility of the contract itself being resolved in this manner. There's nothing, I'll tell you, while binding arbitration is even going on, there's nothing in the law that prevents both sides from coming to a mutual agreement. Mm-hmm. There's nothing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We'll see what happens. I'm sure there will be a great deal of media coverage over the next 10 days regarding this, and good luck to you and your family as you go through this.
Surely, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Toussaint. Mm-hmm. We should note that the MTA did not return our request to have a representative appear on the show today. We just want to make sure you know that we checked in with them as well. Coming up next, Mayor Bloomberg's newest fight against illegal guns. We'll be right back after this.